So year 12 is underway, and if you think about it, was there a time last year where you were overwhelmed with how much was going on? You've got a test coming up, you've got a few assignments due, you've got to go to sport on the week and you need to keep up with friends and family, you've got a birthday that's coming up, you've got work, you've got the UCAT, you've got other things as well. So it's just a lot, and in year 12 there's going to be a lot of stuff as well. In fact, it's probably going to be more. And I was able to actually keep up all of this in year 12 by making sure that I prioritized my time management. And we're gonna go through that in this video, and this is game changing. Hey guys, Art here, a second year medical student, and on this channel, we focus on learning how to learn so that we can spend our time more intentionally on the things and people that matter to us. So school has only been back for a week, and a lot of people are asking me questions about how do I actually manage my time a lot better to get through a lot more stuff. So obviously this comes down, for students at least, to being very efficient with your study techniques, but also we can take a look at time management outside of this time as well. So I'm going to be going through how I was able to do all my year 12 subjects, my uni topics as well, the UCAT, running 2 online businesses, playing sports, playing music, meeting up with friends and family, and all of that. All right, so this video is going to be breaking up into the daily review, the weekly review, and then this thing called the Flowmodoro technique. The daily review is one of the most important things when it comes down to being efficient with how you use your time. It's all about prioritization. That's what time management is. You need to prioritize what is that thing, that number one thing that you want to get done in the day. And there is no question about it. This is like a non-negotiable. You have to brush your teeth before you go to bed. This is the one thing that has to be finished today. And so of course you have to be sort of realistic of what you can achieve, and you need to be fair on yourself as well. I think that often we're too idealistic and don't consider our energy levels later on in the day and how much we can actually achieve within a day, that we overestimate how much is going to be done. So please take that into account. And if you're thinking that this daily review is something that might be too much, or you don't even have enough time for it, well, the thing is, if you're not planning your day, there is almost a 99.99% chance that you are not using your time in the best way that you saw fit. There's no doubt about it. If you're thinking about your priorities, well, then you're gonna set up your day in that particular way. Instead of making decisions off how you feel right now, you have that plan to just go off. And so it takes away all of that cognitive taxing emotions and all this sort of stuff when you have to think about, oh, what's the next thing that I have to get done? So here's the thing, if you think that this sort of daily review is not for you, well, there's like a 99.99% chance that this is something you should be doing if you're not already doing it. If we're assuming that you actually want to get stuff done. Because here's the thing, if you're not doing this, then that probably means that you're making decisions throughout the day about what should I be doing now? And that's based off your emotions and your energy levels at the present moment. There's no doubt about it that if you had a plan at the start of the day, that would take out all of the thought that has to go into what's the next thing that I have to do, and there's all these other important things and urgent things that I have to do. What's the best thing that I should be doing? You get rid of all this cognitive burden in your head to actually get started on something. If you have a plan, it's a lot easier to just, oh, that's the next thing that I do. And if you don't have this is where procrastination comes in. Because if you are having that time to think about, oh, what's the next thing that I want to be doing, that becomes a little bit harder. So you just might just grab your phone and then start scrolling through social media. So if you are procrastinating, time management is one of the solutions. So we need to make sure that our daily review is actually manageable. So let's take a look at this. So at the start of my day, this is when I do my daily review. And I think about the number one thing that I want to get done. If I'm feeling lucky, then I'm gonna probably think about a number 2 thing, but after that, I'll probably stop. When I have these intentions written out for the day, and usually it's just one, then I'll just start adding everything in my head and I'll brain dump it onto a to-do list. Now, currently my app of choice is this thing called Amazing Marvin, but this does cost money. So there's other things that work quite well as well, just like notes on your phone, or maybe just writing it down on a notebook. But I do recommend other things as well, like Todoist or Things 3 as well. So once you have all of those to-dos written out, then you can start planning your day and prioritizing those to-dos. So this is what it will sort of look like. You'll have a list of everything from top priority to least priority. And what you'll realize is you'll be able to figure out what's actually not that important that you can just cross off your list. And then you'll be left with a section which is just gonna be the most important stuff. And then that becomes my plan for the day. Now, when you come to planning your day, this sort of comes down to a little bit of personal preference. If you want high flexibility or low flexibility. So high flexibility is having that to-do list that we were talking about. Something with low flexibility is more like time blocking. Now for me, I prefer to be in high flexibility, so I'll have most of my stuff in to-do lists. These will be all of my tasks and they'll be in Amazing Marvin. Now for the things where I have meetings or events that I have to go to, I'll make that low flexibility. And so that will be in my calendar, it'll be time blocked. So then you can just see this line here from low flexibility up to high flexibility. So for me, I usually lie around here. And okay, so my app of choice for the to-do list is Amazing Marvin or all the other ones that I've mentioned, but for time blocking, I just used Google Calendar. So if you just want to take one thing away from this, just use Google Calendar. All right, so that's the daily review. Let's get into the weekly review. So for the weekly review, you just have to look at the whole week that has just passed and see what are the things that were important or maybe urgent that you didn't actually get done. And then you can start adding that onto the list for next week. Once you have that list for next week, then you can go into your daily reviews and take a look at what you've produced here to see if you can put that on as well. So essentially, the weekly review is looking at the week that has passed so far and planning for the week ahead. Now, during this time, I'll also check over my Google Calendar to see if there's any events or meetings that I need to put in already. And then I'll worry about also just my tasks that are here. This will make sure that you don't miss out on things or overbook things. And as well, making sure that you're able to get an assignment done before the day before it's due. Or likewise, to prevent cramming for a test. Now, this looks like a lot of work to be doing every day and then also on a weekly basis. So what I do recommend is that you start off very, very simple. Yeah, so to start off very simply, on your daily review, just make sure that you have one thing that you want to get done. If you feel confident, add a little bit more to it. Same with the weekly review. Just maybe do 5 minutes instead of 15 minutes. Make it as easy to keep this habit because this is what makes a difference over the long term. And as we all know from James Clear in Atomic Habits, if we're improving by 1% every day, then by the end of a year, that's going to compound interest and then you'll be 37 times better. Let's talk about Flowmodoro. Okay, so you've got all your intentions set out, your prioritizations down packed, you've got the daily review down, and you've got a plan for the day. How do you make sure that when you go down to study, you're gonna get as much work as you can get done? So here's why Pomodoro is okay, but it probably won't be what you're looking for in some cases. The limitations with Pomodoro include that it's going to take you out of a flow state if you reach one because the timer is gonna go off and you just have to stop. So technically, the timer is not taking into consideration how deep into your work you are. I mean, at least for me, when I'm doing Pomodoro, I need to at least do another extra or 2 minutes to just finish off the task that I'm doing, which goes into my break and just stuffs it all up. The other thing as well is that the Pomodoro technique doesn't actually take into consideration your energy levels, which we mentioned was a huge part of the daily planning and your weekly review. There's no point doing like a 15-minute Pomodoro if you start losing concentration by the 30th minute. It means that you're gonna be working at maybe like 50% efficiency instead of just like 90. So how does a Flowmodoro technique work? I've actually explained it in another video, but a lot of people have been asking me about it, so I wanted to include it here again. So with Pomodoro, you'll count downwards from 25 minutes and then you'll wait for a 5-minute break after. So for Pomodoro, you'll do 25 minutes of study on and then do 5 minutes off in a break. With the Flowmodoro, you're not gonna be counting down, you're gonna be counting up. So you'll press the start for your stopwatch and then you'll see how long you work before you start to lose a little bit of concentration. And once you lose that concentration, pause your timer, see how long you worked, and divide that by 5, and that becomes the length of your break. So let's say I kept concentrated for a whole hour. That means when I divide it by 5, I'm gonna have a 12-minute break. And I can keep doing this, and what you'll start to notice is that the time that you stay focused is actually gonna decrease as you keep studying for longer. So after a few cycles, you actually need to stop for a while and have a longer break so that you can recoup from that. This is so important because what this actually means is that you're going to be working at your max capacity when you actually sit down to study, which is what matters. Why would you want to be studying if you're studying at a lower capacity when you could just take a small break and come back full throttle? That's what we're talking about here. So this actually comes from Getting Things Done from David Allen. I've actually adapted it to fit within a more year 12 context according to what I experienced, and maybe you guys can try and see what you can come up with as well. But this is definitely something that I'm still working on all the time because it's a system. And so, if you think about it as a car engine, it needs to be oiled up, it needs to be repaired, it needs to be checked up on so that it's always working at its max efficiency. So this system is always getting re-oiled. So here's the other thing. If you are super effective and efficient with all of your time outside of your study, but you're still studying something for 10 hours as opposed to like 4 hours, this sort of stuff doesn't matter. Which is why studying efficiently is even more important than time management. You actually want to be reducing the time that you're spending studying, but also get the same amount of content done. That's study efficiency, and I've got tons of other videos, and make sure you check them out if you haven't already. All right, thanks guys. Hopefully you found this one useful. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.